Our next story is from Israel. The country's prime minister is in a fix. He faces challenges on multiple fronts. A coalition partner has threatened to quit. There is violence on the streets of Jerusalem. And Iran has issued a stern warning to Israel, a warning to strike the heart of the Jewish state. We'll decode these challenges for you one by one and try to understand what they mean for Naftali Bennett. Let me start with the political challenge. Israel's ruling coalition is on the brink of collapse. A key coalition partner is threatening to break away. The Islamist RAAN party, or the United Arab List, led by MK Mansour Abbas. It is an Arab political party which represents Israeli Muslims. In the 2021 elections, this party won 4 seats in the Israeli parliament. With the fragmented political landscape at that time, these seats gave the party the role of the kingmaker, the power to determine who should form the government. Benjamin Netanyahu or Naftali Bennett. The party's leader sided with Bennett. It helped him form the coalition government. It also became the first Arab party to come to power in decades. A year on, the party does not want to stay in power. It has frozen its membership both in the coalition and the parliament. Why? To protest against the ongoing violence in Israel. The party says it is under pressure from its supporters to denounce the Naftali Bennett government for its alleged crackdown on Palestinians, especially for the turmoil at AL-AQSA over the weekend. We'll get there in a bit. First, let's tell you what this move really means. For starters, it has no immediate implications. Since the Israeli parliament is on break till May, so for now it's only a symbolic blow to Naftali Bennett. However, in the longer run, it could prove to be disastrous. The Bennett government has already lost its majority in the parliament. On the 6th of April, a key member of the coalition had resigned. And this brought down the Bennett government's majority to 60 from 61. The opposition in Israel has the same number of seats, that's 60. And this has basically left the parliament in deadlock. Now, if the RAAN also insists on breaking away, the coalition government could be on its way out. We are not saying this, Israeli politicians are. Like MK Walid Taha, a member of the RAAN party, he says the coalition government is headed for collapse because his party could withdraw its support in the days ahead. And this leaves ample room for the opposition to stake its claim on the top office. To put it simply, Israel could see yet another change of guard in the days ahead. And the reason will be the ongoing communal violence, which is Bennett's challenge number 2. It's been more than 4 weeks since Israel has been gripped by unrest. There have been protests, clashes, murders, even terror attacks. The flashpoint came last Friday. There was violence at Al-Aqsa Mosque and Temple Mount, the holiest sites for Jews and Muslims located adjacent to each other. Hundreds of Palestinians clashed with the Israeli security forces. Stones were pelted, rubber bullets were fired, even grenades were launched. Over 150 Palestinians were left injured. The question is, what led to the violence? The answer depends on who you ask. Israeli police blames the Palestinians. It says dozens of masked men marched into the mosque and set off fireworks. Eyewitnesses say Palestinians threw stones at the Israeli forces first. On the other hand, the Palestinians have a different story to tell. They say Israeli forces tried to empty the compound. The police allegedly attacked the mosque staff and the many worshippers who had come to pray. Listen to this.
After people performed Al-Fajr prayers at around 6:50 a.m., the occupation forces stormed into Al-Aqsa Mosque through the Moroccan gate and assaulted the worshippers who were there, as well as surrounded and attacked Al-Qibli Mosque and fired rubber bullets at the worshippers who were praying inside.
Last we checked, the violence had ended, but there are strong indications that it might resurface again, given how Palestinians are accusing Israel of trying to curb their religious freedom. They are complaining about unwarranted restrictions on them during Ramzan. They say the security checks are draconian and stop them from offering prayers on time. Israel says they are meant for security purposes only. It says it's only trying to keep a check on religious processions and stop tempers from escalating. And as the war of words continues, warnings are flowing in from Iran, which is Bennett's challenge number 3. You see, Iran recently marked its National Army Day, a day to commemorate its military might. The country displayed its homegrown weapons, also a series of defense systems and aircraft. Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi himself led the celebrations and issued a stern warning. He told Israel that if it makes the slightest move against Iran, the country will target the heart of the Jewish state. You must listen to this.
The message for the Zionist regime is that if you are looking to normalize relations with some countries of the region, you should know that even the slightest movement of yours is not hidden from our intelligence, security and armed forces. You should also know that if you make even the slightest move against the Iranian people, rest assured that the target of our armed forces will be the center of the Zionist regime.
What was this warning aimed at? Some say it was aimed at the ongoing violence in Israel. Others say it was aimed at Israel's attempts to stall the nuclear deal talks. Yet others say the reason could be a mix of both. You see, unlike other Arab states, Iran has been a staunch supporter of the Palestinian cause. It does not mince its words in condemning Israel like other Arab countries. At the same time, Iran has always been at odds with Israel over its opposition to nuclear talks with the West. Analysts, in fact, say Iran is looking for reasons to wade into Israel's internal affairs. Reports say the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has promised a new wave of support for the Palestinians, that it has promised to aid their fight against Israel. Where does this leave Naftali Bennett? In the grip of uncertainty, to say the least. His forces are clashing with Palestinians, his allies are threatening to quit, and his enemies are warning of a retaliation. The next few days are very crucial for the Israeli Prime Minister. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.